Hopefully this works well for everybody tonight. We're going to be watching the... Well, okay, let me... All right, normal, just relaxed. We are watching Fox News. The channel. And
we'll be a little flexible as needed. Let the debate breathe as needed, along with a 30-second time for rebuttal. Let me start by introducing both Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, California Governor Gavin Newsom.
I don't have
Governors,
my...
thank you both for being here. Really appreciate it.
Great to be with you, Sean.
I know both of you personally. I've known you both for a long time. I know you're very busy.
I don't have the
I know that both of you
timer
love
set up.
individual states. I know you both have a deep and abiding love for our country, as I do.
I might do that.
But where we are in the country, we've never kind of been this divided in a long time. There are clear and deep and profound differences in your approach to governance. And before we begin, one quick note to all of you that are watching at home. Okay, I'm now the longest running primetime cable host in the history of cable news. I'm now, and I feel blessed, in my 28th year at Fox. It's kind of widely known that I am a conservative. However, tonight I will be moderating this debate. I will not be part of the debate. Our questions tonight will be
Good for you,
coming
Sean
from
Hannity.
well-sourced, fact-centered perspectives, and you will see and hear most of tonight's questions will deal with the most fundamental issues, the ones that impact the lives of the people that make this country great, the people in Florida, the people in California, and in many ways, every state in the country. We'll discuss taxes, the economy, immigration, crime, guns, homelessness, education, parental rights, abortion, gas prices. In other words, the things that impact you every single day. In the end, you will get to decide which governing philosophy you believe is better. The governors will explain their governing philosophy. And again, fact-based questions. So let's get started. Everybody ready? All right.
Yep.
Here
we go, everyone. Hopefully you can hear the audio correctly.
Americans, they are leaving blue states in droves in favor of red
And
states. You can see numbers on the screen right now from the years 2021 and 2022. These particular numbers are stark in the state that you lead. In the case of you, Governor Newsom, according to the U.S. Census, this is where the numbers come from. In 2021, 2022, California's lost 750,000 residents to other states. Governor DeSantis, during that same two-year period, you gained 454,000 residents from other states. So, Governor DeSantis, we had a coin toss. I was not part of it. I missed it. But apparently, Governor Newsom, you won the coin toss. And you chose to let Governor DeSantis have the first question. You will get the last word tonight. So I begin with you. You know, for Governor Newsom, I will ask, you know, what your response is on this as well. What do you, it's a simple question. How do you explain this phenomenon? Governor, what's going on?
When I was in the Navy, I got orders to go to Naval Amphibious Base Coronado in Southern California. And I was a lifelong Floridian, but I went there and I was like, man, this is one of the most beautiful places on earth. And I think California has more natural advantages than any state in the country. You almost have to try to mess California up. And yeah, that's what Gavin Newsom has done since he's been governor. He's the first governor to ever lose population. They actually, at one point, ran out of U-Hauls in the state of California because so many people were leaving. Of course, he's imposed restrictions on his own people while exempting himself from those restrictions and going to the French Laundry while his people were suffering. He led the country in school closures, locking kids out of school while he had his own kids in private school in person. Now, he's very good at spinning these tales. He's good at being slick and slippery. He'll tell a blizzard of lies to be able to try to mask the failures. But the reality is they have failed because of his leftist ideology. And the choice for America is this. What Biden and Harris and Newsom want to do is take the California model and do that nationally. In Florida, we showed that conservative principles work. This country must choose freedom over failure.
Governor Newsom, your reaction.
Well, it's good to be with you, Sean. It's nice also to see you in a tie as well tonight. Good to be with you, Ron. And I
dressed up for the occasion, Governor.
This is going to be good, everyone.
I'm impressed, and I'm grateful. Look, it's an important occasion. This is an important conversation, and I think it's important to folks watching. They're probably wondering, what are we actually doing here? And I want to answer that very directly. I'll tell you why I'm here. I'm here to tell the truth about the Biden-Harris record and also compare and contrast Ron DeSantis' record and the Republican Party's record as a point of contrast that's as different as daylight and darkness. You want to bring us back to a pre-1960s world, America in reverse. You want to roll back hard-earned national rights on voting rights, on civil rights, on LGBTQ rights, on women's rights, not just access to abortion, but also access to contraception. You want to weaponize grievance. You are focusing on false separateness. You in particular, Ron, are on a banning binge, a cultural purge, intimidating and humiliating people you disagree with.
He is.
You and President Trump are really trying to light democracy on fire. So, Sean, there are profound differences tonight, and I look forward to engage them. But there's one thing in closing that we have in common is neither of us will be the nominee for our party in 2024.
Governor, great opening statement, but
Didn't
it
answer
did not
the question.
It
I mean,
didn't
I think-
address the issue. Can you explain this migration out of California and going to red states? Blue state.
Well, hold on. You mean the last 2 years, more Floridians going to California than Californians going to
No,
Florida?
I put up on. I put
Let's
up on
just,
the
by the way,
screen.
that's going to be fun to fact check. So we'll just start right there. California has no peers. California dominates.
We have been losing a lot of
21
people in
state
California.
Populations combined. It's the fifth largest economy in the world. We dominate. Number one manufacturing.
Fox News
state.
had-
We dominate in two-way trade and research and development, access to innovation, more scientists, more researchers, more
Facebook
engineers,
groups
more Nobel
leaving
laureates
California,
in the state of California than any other
was on
state
earlier.
in the nation. The finest system of higher education. It's the birthplace of life science and biotech and nanotechnology. We dominate in green tech. We dominate in high tech. We dominate in artificial intelligence. So with respect, I think it's an interesting campaign strategy for Ron DeSantis to be bashing a state of 40 million Americans when California simply has no peers.
Well, that's a pretty slick way of not answering your question. He went on a binge of putting out a lot of left-wing platitudes. Here's what I would say. I talked to a lot of the people that have moved from California to Florida, and we never used to get people from California to Florida or really anywhere in the East.
One of my
Why would
best
you leave
good friends
California? It's
who
got the
started
best
those groups
weather,
was on
great
Fox earlier and
Excuse me,
moved
sir.
from California to
One of the
Florida.
things that I did, I had, I was talking to a gentleman a couple.
Guys,
Yeah, I know.
guys, I'm
And I
gonna
was
let
talking
this.
to a-
I'm gonna let the debate breathe, but it's his turn. Let's take turns.
So I was talking to a fella who had made the move from California to Florida, and he was telling me that Florida is much better governed, safer, better budget, lower taxes.
Safer,
all this
better
stuff.
budget, yeah.
He was really happy with the quality of life. And then he paused and he said, by the way, I'm Gavin Newsom's father-in-law. So we do count Gavin's in-laws as some of the people that have fled California and come to the state
is
of
true.
Florida. And why are we getting people to come? We have a 50-year low in the crime rate. You don't see in the last 10 years, we've had a
But you're-
45% decline in homelessness. California's had a 45% increase in homelessness. We back the
We have
blue.
that problem
I was
here.
walking the streets of San
But
Francisco a couple
you're
months ago,
panning
and I had
books.
some of the cops in San Francisco do a beeline to come over to me, and I didn't know what they were going to say. And they're like, "We want to thank you for standing for law enforcement because we don't get that support in the state of California." So people understand quality of life matters. They understand that Florida's doing it right, and I can tell you the numbers speak for themselves. We have way more people moving to this state than leaving. Gavin can't say the opposite. More people are leaving California than are moving into
More
California.
Floridians
let me bring up-
coming to California the other way around the last 2 years. But let's talk about crime.
Wait,
You
wait,
talk-
wait. So,
but
Governor,
Ron,
hold
I
on.
think this
Governor,
is,
wait a minute.
I think
hold
it's
on a second.
important. He said a lot of things that were factually untrue, including that 50-year crime low, which his own law enforcement team said
2020
you should not be using.
You have yet
Uh,
to
Cal-
address the issue.
courts
I
can't-
asked you twice. You don't want to
or
answer
letting
it.
California handle the
Why
the
migration
homelessness,
out of
but
red states-
at the same time, there are things we can
We
do
just established more
that,
Floridians coming to California in the last
we're
5
not.
years than the-
Overall, you had a-
Honestly, it should be a national thing to help
It's a
people
fact.
relocate, but
It's
that's a whole
fact.
nother issue.
It is
All
a
right,
fact.
moving on. Let's go. Your states have vastly different income tax rates. Okay, it is what it is. These are the facts. California's highest rate for top earners, 13%. Married couple, for example, in California, earning a median income of $84,000, they have a 6% income tax in the state of California. Florida's income tax rate is 0% across all salaries, but it goes
6%.
beyond income taxes. Property taxes are lower in
Oh, yeah.
California, but everything else is higher. Let's take a look at the
We have
numbers. These are
huge
the
sales
facts.
tax.
The average property tax in California, 0.75%. Florida, 0.91%. Sales tax, California, 7.25%. Florida,
And that's
6%.
some areas. We get
Gas
9 or
tax rate,
10% depending upon what
California,
county.
77 cents a gallon. That is a low estimate. It's up to $1 when you include
Oh.
mandatory fees, and in Florida, it's 35 cents. Corporate income tax, California, 8.84%, Florida, 5.5%. Governor Newsom, this is your question. Let me ask you. Obviously, you support a different philosophy, which is higher taxes.
Yes. No, hold on.
No, this is a tax question, Governor.
This is a very different approach, and I agree with you completely. He has one of the most regressive tax rates in the United States of America. It's the #3 most regressive state in America. And what that means is simply this. Who does he tax? He taxes low-income workers more than we tax millionaires and billionaires in the state of California. The question is a simple one. Who, Ron, are you for? It's a factual lie that the state of California is high tax, has the highest tax.
Federal income tax plus state income tax plus property tax plus sales tax. So it's
overwhelming majority of Texans pay more taxes
plus gas tax
in the state of California. So again, it's who you're for, and I think those values matter. And I appreciate you bringing up the issue of taxes.
How many people leave Florida to go to California because they pay less taxes? I've not seen that. Are people going from Florida to New York because they pay less taxes?
No, they come to California for jobs, or they used to.
Have an income tax, and yet California has a higher sales tax than we do, and that's one of the things that we do. But here's the thing:
we do waste a lot of money. There's a whole lot of things we need to fix there.
In his first answer, he's joined at the hip with Biden and Harris. He thinks Biden and Harris have done a great job. He thinks the economy is working because of their policies for Americans, and they are not. And so what California represents is the Biden-Harris agenda on steroids. They would love nothing more than to get 4 more years to be able to take the California model nationally. That would be disastrous for working people in this country.
Let's talk about working people. They pay more in your state than the state of California charges for billionaires and millionaires, and it's just a value proposition.
True.
It's a fact. Again, you can't make
you
these
have
things
$6
up.
or $7 a gallon gas. How do they afford that? These are folks that are blue collar people. You're going to force everybody to buy an electric vehicle. How are they going to be able to afford electric vehicles if you're working class people?
See, now he's just throwing stuff up. This is the thing about the problem with DeSantis is he sounds good on top, but how he handles it.
A lot of very wealthy people. They've got a lot of people that are on government assistance, but
like
they
I gotta
followed out their middle class. That's who's been leading California.
Yes, that's a problem.
They go to
Here.
Arizona, they go to Nevada, they go to all these places.
DeSantis' big thing. Our problems is taxing and wasting money. DeSantis' problem is
You continue to talk. Let's talk a little bit about Bidenomics, because I'm happy to take that on right now as well. And I think it's a fair point.
he says things, but like you could get a zero crime rate if you just shoot everybody whoever commits a crime. That's not a good way to do things.
3.9% unemployment. As he continues to talk over me, I'll talk to the American people. 3.9% unemployment, the lowest black
I don't like either of them, to be honest.
The lowest unemployment for Hispanics in American history, the lowest unemployment for women in 70 years, the lowest black poverty rates in history. That's this administration's agenda. And by the way, as you smile and smirk over there, you should know this, the American people. Here's a guy who celebrated Bidenomics just this week, celebrating $28 million that came into your state because of the CHIPS and Science Act, one of the most significant economic plans since FDR. I'm proud of the work Biden and Harris have done.
Would you like to respond? And I do have a follow-up. The 6% rate on people, families, couple in California, they pay 6% income tax on $84,000 a year.
Low-wage workers in the state of Florida pay more than billionaire state of California.
I didn't ask about Florida. Governor,
but here's, let me ask the question.
See,
Let me ask the question.
Different 84,000 is hard to live on here.
California has lower taxes, lower than 32 states for working families in the middle class. Significantly lower taxes.
That's how they define middle class.
You support a 6% income tax for people, a couple
I'm
making
against
$84,000.
regressive taxes that advantage billionaires and millionaires over working families and the working poor. People in his state pay more taxes on the low end than we tax people on the high end. That's
paying
a fact.
$7 a gallon gas help working people? That doesn't help working people at all. How does paying an 8% sales tax help working people. That doesn't help working people at all.
Nope,
They
and
have the
there's
highest
other
taxes
ways
in
to
the
do it,
nation.
but
People flee to be able to save money to get out of California, and you have working class people that move to these other states. Their dollars go much further. But here's
we
the
got
thing:
people
they
fleeing
wanna
Florida
take
for their
this
lives right now.
economics, and they want to double down on this for the next 4 years. How many people are able to afford groceries now compared to what you were doing 3 or 4 years ago?
Oh, don't talk about groceries.
I talked to a woman who had
We grow the groceries here.
cart full of groceries going in, and they're ringing it up. And it got to be so expensive, she has to take a lot of the stuff out. That didn't used to be the case. People used to be able
Yeah,
to work hard.
it's a
to get
national
ahead.
problem
That
right
is
now.
not true under Joe Biden. And you know what, Sean? One more final thing.
Why are we going to Joe Biden?
California's unemployment rate is 60% higher than Florida's unemployment rate. Our unemployment rate is 2.8%.
That
Theirs is
dovetails into my
4.8%.
next question,
Why?
Governor.
Because it's a command and control economy. They have a political agenda that they're pursuing.
Let me
at the
ask that
expense of
question.
People.
On with the question of jobs. I think it's important.
Ask me anything, by the way, in the comments.
That affects everybody.
Biden administration the last 3 years, it's
Is
been a
Joe
master class
Biden
of job
paying you
creation.
tonight? Is this-
3.9%.
I thought this was state
unemployment.
versus state.
No, but it's about the United States of America. I thought this guy was running for president of the United States. If
You
you're
are
running
too.
for a
You
third-
just won't
and you're
admit
running
it.
for a
You
third-
You
sounds
just
like
won't
you're
admit
running
it.
for a
You will not
third
admit it.
term.
Why don't you
All
right,
just
gentlemen.
admit that you're
But
running?
hold on.
All right, we can't talk.
Hold on
We
here.
can't talk. I'm going to move
He's
on to the next
hovering,
question.
he's
The
running.
unemployment rate in Florida right now
Yes.
is just 2.8%. As you stated, and California ranks second worst in the country at 4.8%.
Just enjoyed
Hold
our
on. This
lowest
question goes to
unemployment on record
Governor
in the state of
DeSantis, and
California.
then you'll have a chance to respond. Governor DeSantis.
Well, right. I mean, they tax too much. They regulate too much. They have a political agenda. It's not a good climate for business. They've lost a lot of companies. A lot of companies have moved to Texas. We have had some to Florida, but they've lost a lot of companies to Texas because they're not doing a good job looking out for folks.
Oh,
and
is
not
the debate
bringing
volume
new
too low?
business
Yeah, I can
environment.
probably do that.
And,
I'm a little
my
worried
people
about
that come
them
to Florida,
cutting
they
me
tell
off.
you know, you guys actually want us to succeed in Florida. And they feel like when they're in California, they
Is that
don't
what
want
Disney's
business to
telling?
succeed
Is that what
and all
Disney's
that
saying,
stuff.
the Tampa Bay Rays?
Well, actually,
Is that what
yeah.
all these
I
other
think that's an
private sector
interesting point with
corporations
Disney
say?
because
Please.
I had Disney open during COVID, and we made them a fortune, and we saved a lot of jobs. You had Disney closed inexplicably for over a year.
Yeah,
You were
that
not
was
following
ridiculous.
science. You were a lockdown governor. You did a lot of damage to your people. You had more kids locked out of school for a longer period of time in California than anywhere else in the country. It was the working class kids. It was the middle income kids. His kids were in private school. They were in class in person.
We'll get to COVID.
He locked people out because of the teachers union. He is owned by the teachers union. You will never cross the teachers
This is
union.
just a lot of hot air.
Lock, stock, and
Let's
barrel.
talk about COVID. Let's talk about your record on COVID. You passed an emergency declaration before the state of California did. You closed down your beaches, your bars, your restaurants.
False.
It's a fact.
beaches
You had
were not closed.
quarantines.
False.
You had quarantines. You had checkpoints all over the state of Florida. By the way, I didn't say that. Donald Trump laid you out on this, dead to right. You did
not
that.
true.
You followed science. You followed Fauci,
That's
Ron
not-
Santos.
that's not false.
He followed science.
not
He
true.
followed Fauci. You
Then
were
why did
promoting.
everyone leave
Hold on. You
California
were
to come to
promoting
Florida? Because we
vaccines.
were open.
You were promoting
We were
vaccines. You
open.
even
We were
wore a
closed.
mask in
We were
September,
open.
Sean.
You were closed.
If it's okay with you, we'll do this.
Why were you
Why don't we do
closed for
this
so
in a way
long?
where we both can
You did-
have
why were you
an
closed for
opportunity?
so long?
You wore
You
a
were
mask
closed.
with
All right, guys,
Donald
guys,
Trump
closed.
outside
I'm trying to let it breathe.
in September
Gavin,
2020. He did all of
Governor
that
Newsom.
until he decided to fall prey to the fringe of his party. And as a consequence of that, Ron, tens of thousands of people lost their lives.
Not true.
The equivalent, if I had your policies, the equivalent of 10 9/11s. Tens of thousands of people lost their lives. And for what, Ron?
Those are more lies. In fact, the Lancet just did
All
a study.
statistics. The
Florida
way
had
of
a
spitting
lower
statistics.
standardized COVID death rate than California did. That's a Lancet study.
let me-
Yeah, one more thing.
29%
One more thing.
higher COVID
The other
death
thing
rate
we
in the
had.
state of
The other thing
California.
California
Come close.
had.
Your record
California had
is one
higher
of
excess
failure
mortality
on
than.
COVID.
All right,
than
gentlemen,
Florida.
gentlemen.
Let me talk about the excess
Hang-
mortality real quick.
Honestly,
because the
hold on a
excess
second.
mortality is other
I
things.
want to ask you both. Slow down. I want everyone to be heard. If I can ask you, I really do want this.
This is
debate-
kind of fun
I
to-
want this debate
fun
to
and
breathe. I
entertaining.
want it to
But-
organically develop.
You know, the
To
famous
do that,
quote.
I need both your cooperation. I don't want to be a home.
Then there was the
monitor.
man
It's
who
not my
drowned in a
style, all
river
right?
with an
You
average depth
mentioned
of 6
COVID.
inches. You can
Let me
spin
go to COVID. And I
spin
plan to
statistics
bring this
any way
up
you
later,
want.
but you both took
There are
very
3
different
types of
approaches
lies.
as it
Lies,
comes to COVID.
damned lies,
Governor
and
Newsom,
statistics.
You issued the nation's first stay-at-home order on March 19th of 2020. Governor DeSantis, you took a lot of heat for reopening schools. You opened schools in Florida in August of 2020. All right, so here's the data, which I think is important. This is where the facts come in. Your state's death rates were almost identical.
This is factually untrue.
Hold on.
Factually untrue.
Okay. And by the way, both your states, with such different approaches, which is pretty fascinating, were both lower, significantly lower than the national average. These numbers come straight from the CDC. Yeah. So, Governor Newsom, how do you explain that?
The facts. Per capita death rates in the state of Florida were 29%, 29% per capita higher. 29%, tens of thousands of people. Tens of thousands of people unnecessarily died.
He put the graphic up there. Don't lie
But that's,
about it.
Unnecessarily.
I don't think
because your policies.
Just understand.
I don't think DeSantis understands the concept of percent.
You locked down.
One at a time, Gavin Newsom, finish your thought.
Beaches, bars, and restaurants. That's just a fact. He's running away from these.
I have to run those numbers.
He's running away from the fact. Tens of thousands of people died unnecessarily
the CDC
because he
numbers.
caved to the. It's 29% higher death rate in the state of Florida versus the state of California.
Okay, quick response, Governor.
You showed the stats. The stats
If
are
that
very
was
clear.
like-
On a per capita age-adjusted basis,
was about
California and
10%.
Florida are basically the same. Now, why is that important? Because Gavin Newsom did huge damage to people in California. He ruined livelihoods.
We have a lot of school issues.
The state very quickly. We saved thousands of jobs. We saved hundreds of thousands
School
of jobs.
kids are the
thousands
problem.
of businesses. We had our kids in school. He had the kids locked out of school because of the teachers union. That is having a generational impact. California has one of the lowest literacy rates in the country. In the most recent NAEP exam, Florida came in number 3 for 4th grade reading. California was far, far behind. So you should apologize for not getting your kids in school. Why didn't you get the kids in school in the summer of 2020 like we did?
You
bowed to the teachers union. You didn't do the job you should have done.
All right,
the only person,
one at a time, quick answer.
Is Ron DeSantis for the tens of thousands of lives that died unnecessarily because he played to the fringe of his party.
We got to take a break. And finish your thought.
No, and when it comes to the issue of schools, you better be careful. You had more learning loss during COVID than the national average in the state of California. It's a fact. More learning loss. Your economy contracted more in 2020.
Quick break.
Expanded slower than California in 2021. More to come on this topic.
More to come on this debate.
I know it's starting off next segment, I guess.
It's been rather dull at the start, but anyway, we got a lot to get to. Coming up,
Okay. So this is we care.
with us.
Sorry for muting it too soon. I forgot how long Hannity takes to get to a break there. All right. DeSantis is... They're arguing and throwing different statistics without citing their sources. They'd make horrible Toastmasters. They're not citing their statistics. They're arguing over numbers and not really the problems. Gavin Newsom runs our state here in California, and California does have a lot of problems with taxes, wasting money, going to special interest, people who, well, let's just face it, corruption. From Governor Brown, when he went back and he said that the special interests got a hold of us, a lot of that has to do with the way our term limits work. Once the legislature is on their final term, they are no longer working for the people. They're working for whoever can get them a job after they get out of there. So it's become a real problem in our state. And people don't even understand the layers of corruption and just waste of money in all sorts of projects. But on the flip side, we are trying to do improving and care about people in general. We make mistakes. There's a lot of things we do wrong, but there's a lot of things we work at. DeSantis wants to do, well, we're heavy-handed in one way. DeSantis in Florida has been very heavy-handed in another way. He says good things. He makes it sound like he's doing good on the statistics, but you look at how he does it with the implementation of his policies, which basically ban books. Like, carts and carts and carts of books that make no sense why they're being removed from schools, having to be removed from schools, teachers fearful for their jobs, people, transgender, LGBTQ, leaving Florida in droves for their lives. They've got strikes on people trying to do transportation. It's just a mess down there. You look at all the different things. But DeSantis is playing for president. He's playing for trying to make it look all nice, because you don't see those problems unless you're in Florida. Now, those people who are there are saying it's great. My friend was on Fox and Friends this morning, and he says it's great. He's not big on transgender either, even though we're friends. But I used to do his video editing for Leaving California, so some of those earlier videos, I did some of that stuff for a while. Incidentally, if you're interested in my stuff, if everything falls into place, it'll probably have to be the next week or so. I was thinking of running myself. So look for, Should Jenni Run, JENNI, run.com. Should Jenni Run. You can see some of more of my positions and some other my live streamer. Again, ask me anything in any of the video streams and I will try to answer. Meanwhile, while we're waiting for the debate to get to their wonderful commercial break, which is why Fox decides to host this, right? Get money of the thing for this. They just did a commercial for Museum of the Bible. If you're ever in DC, go see Museum of the Bible. It is worth your time. They have a 30-minute walkthrough that takes you from Genesis just in the old. It's just that's not even a walkthrough. It's a multimedia experience where you think you're watching a video and it just explodes. The earlier books of the Bible. It's really amazing. That of all the things I've seen in DC, I loved a lot of it. Was impressed by a lot. Surprised. The Museum of the Bible surprised me. We were on a trip with my son's 8th grade graduation, or 8th grade field trip, just before COVID. So that was very, very, very big experience. Let's see, double checking the ones that I have to check other places for. And we're coming back so we can turn up the audio.
And welcome back to Hannity as we continue our blue state,
welcome
red
back
state
to my live
debate
stream if you're
with
missing.
Governor Gavin Newsom and Governor Ron DeSantis. Gentlemen, let's move on to the issue of borders. Joe Biden's message to illegal immigrants during his campaign was, let them come. I'd have the tape, but I said I wouldn't play the tape. And since taking office, Biden said he's gotten control of the border. Vice President Kamala Harris, Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas, Biden's press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre have all said the border is either secure or the border is closed. Yet the Border Patrol says, well, guess what? They have been a record 6.5 million encounters with illegal immigrants and so-called asylum seekers at the border since President Biden took office. The administration says, well, they don't know how many people actually are in the country illegally. Gentlemen, the American people, I ask you, I believe it's your turn, Governor Newsom, have the American people on the issue of borders, you're defending the Biden administration, they're saying the border's secure, they're saying the border's closed, those are the numbers from our own Border Patrol. Are the American people being lied to?
I don't think they're being lied to. The Biden administration put out a comprehensive plan day one when he got sworn into office 3 years ago, and the Republican Party didn't touch it. They haven't moved on it. They play politics with us. And I'll be honest with you, I think there's probably one person I wouldn't listen to on this topic more than the guy that I'm standing next to, Ron DeSantis. He lacks any credibility on the issue of immigration. When he was in Congress, he supported amnesty. When he's in Congress, you supported John Boehner's bill. It's a fact. When you were in Congress, you supported Obama's. You supported Obama's efforts to advance comprehensive reform.
False.
The last guy you want to talk to on the issue of immigration. Your immigration policy can best be described as a governor from the state of Florida going into another state, the state of Texas, lying to migrants, promising them jobs and housing, sending them to an island, Martha's Vineyard, and then sending them to a parking lot in Sacramento, California. I met with those migrants that you lied to under false pretense. That kind of gamesmanship, using human beings as pawns, I think is disqualifying. So again, A guy who stands here, who's been out on the Republican debate stage saying, well, he's going to be tough, he's going to shoot people with backpacks, and that he has a strategy to potentially even invade our second largest trading partner, Mexico, that has a record of supporting amnesty and supporting reforms under the Obama administration, is the last guy to be standing on stage talking about the issue of immigration reform tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's deja vu all over again with that flurry of lies. This is a guy that says the Biden administration is not lying to the public about the border. They go to the White House briefing room every day. They say the border's secure.
A lot of border problems.
They are lying to you. We know that that's not true.
Spinning it.
Gavin Newsom is lying to you when he says somehow I supported these things, which I didn't do. He's also lying to you about what it's going to take to solve this problem. California is a sanctuary state. They thumb their nose at federal immigration law, and this has real consequences. There was an illegal alien, Herbert Nixon Flores, who was in L.A., in custody. He was a repeat criminal. ICE wanted to take him into custody because then they would be able to deport him. L.A. refuses to work with ICE, and so they wouldn't turn him over. They end up releasing him on the street. He ends up murdering the mother of a 3-year-old little girl. Those policies are deadly. They do not work. And I would tell you this. The Martha's Vineyard transport, Martha's Vineyard said it was a sanctuary jurisdiction. Kind of reminds me about Gavin Newsom when he restricted Californians, then he went to the French Laundry. These liberal elites, they like to impose burdens on you. They don't want to have to face the consequences of their actions. So we've got a lot of elites who want open borders,
Newsom
who lecture
is never going to
everybody
leave
else
the French
about it.
Laundry
And the
down.
minute they have to deal with any of the consequences, oh
That's
man, all
Newsom's
hell breaks
biggest
loose.
problem is his
You know,
attitude.
Hold on,
A lot of
hold
things.
on.
He seems to have improved recently.
We'd be much better
on the
off
same
if that
topic.
were the case.
On the same
It seems to
topic,
be
this
a
is important. This is a very
humbling
important
moment for him.
question. While some migrants I know want to come to America for a better life for themselves and their family, find the American dream, I totally sympathize with them. Many good people fleeing very bad situations
I know many
abroad.
immigrants.
But others are abusing the asylum process, and in the process, in search of where they're coming from, well, we're now learning that many are coming from some of our top geopolitical foes, countries with little to no vetting, or people that are coming in. They're not being vetted. Look at these numbers. Between October 2021, October 2023, border agents encountered 6,386 nationals from Afghanistan,
Data leaked to Fox News in the fine print
3,153
here.
from Egypt, 659 from Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, 538 from Syria, 12,605 from Russia, and a whopping 26,113 from China. Now, my question, the next question goes to you, Governor Newsom. What are the odds that Biden's open borders have allowed terrorists and terror cells unvetted into this country? Is that a clear and present danger to every American?
The odds are 100%. Of course our enemies are going to take advantage of this. He opened the border. He's not. He's violating his oath of office to take care that the laws are faithfully executed. He's knowingly having 8 million come in. And yes, there's criminal aliens. There are terrorists. There's a lot of fentanyl. That we've had tens of thousands of fentanyl deaths. I've met a lot of angel parents who have lost kids to fentanyl overdose, and the problem is, you'll have a college kid that may take some pill not knowing that there's fentanyl in it. And then right there, that can be fatal. They're poisoning our people. And Joe Biden is sitting on his hands. He refuses to take care of the border. He refuses to hold the drug cartels accountable. This is the vision of Biden, Harris, Newsom. Open borders. Americans suffer, and Americans continue to die because of fentanyl overdose. There will be, unfortunately, a terrorist attack at some point that we'll be able to trace back to our southern borders.
For those reasons, but we're not going to go in and invade
do you see the risk?
Mexico like
Joe
you're proposing.
Biden put out not only a comprehensive plan, he consistently puts
That's
up
ridiculous.
plans. Hold on, no, but Sean,
Is there a risk
I'm
to
going
the American
to
people?
answer your question. I support border security. I think the asylum system is broken. I believe that we need.
I understand that.
I'm the only guy here that's a border state governor. You're trolling folks and trying to find migrants to play political games to try to get some news and attention so you can out-Trump Trump. And by the way, how's that going for you, Ron? You're down 41 points in your own home state. On the issue of immigration, Joe Biden put a $14 billion immigration package up in front of Congress, 2,300 border agents, as well as custom officials, 1,000 new law enforcement officers to deal with the fentanyl issue. And by the way, that's a major issue in your state, 41% higher overdose rates than the state of California. And here's what I haven't heard, not a peep from Ron DeSantis. They want to demagogue this issue. You want to play politics with issues. You don't want to solve this issue. Why don't you lead your party
Governor Newsom,
and support that $14 billion package?
Hold on. I have a follow-up. Governor Newsom, I appreciate your answer. You have mentioned comprehensive immigration reform many times. It's not happened under Joe Biden. I don't think it's going to happen next year.
We put a detailed plan in. Republicans in Congress refused to act on it.
Let me finish my
Congress
question.
to work with this
question
administration.
Was, with all of these millions and millions of people coming into this country unvetted, the question was and remains, is this a clear and present danger from the countries I put up on the screen? Is that a clear and present danger to America? And what do you do in the interim before you can have...
That's why the President of the United States put a $14 billion package in front of Congress they can act on today.
And what would that...
They haven't done anything in 2 years,
do?
this Congress.
What do you
Literally
support?
not a single piece
of
legislation. I support the $14 billion package President's put forward that includes 2,300 border agents and customs officials. By the way, also includes $850 million in new technology for border security. You hear nothing from Ron DeSantis. You hear nothing, Sean, respectfully.
You need both that
you hear
and
nothing from the Republican
wall
Party.
where it needs to be.
They play politics.
I'm almost
just
out of
a big
time.
fence, which is a big
Put
fence.
the plan up to address
Does it
the
worry?
anxiety
Let me
around
ask the question
security.
another way.
Between
Does it
safe
worry
crossing
you
points.
that our top geopolitical foes, the #1 state sponsor of terror, Iran, China, Russia, Afghanistan, Syria, that they're at our southern border? You're a border state governor. Does that concern you at all? The security
why else would I have put the answer is yes. Why else would I put the National Guard? Why would I have just increased it by 50% on the largest port in the Western Hemisphere in my state? I mean, this guy has no record. I mean, the fact that you supported amnesty, the fact you supported Obama's reforms, those are facts. They're just simple facts. The fact that your greatest contribution, Ron, to this debate is shooting people with backpacks.
I don't mind.
That's so inhumane.
I don't mind him lying to me. I don't mind Gavin lying to me, but I do mind him lying to you. He is sitting there saying that Joe Biden is willing to solve this problem. Is there anybody out there that actually believes this? Joe Biden created this problem. So if he's willing to lie to you about that, you know he's lying to you about all these other facts and figures.
Joe Biden
about all this
made it
other
worse,
stuff. He's just throwing
and now he's
stuff out to see what sticks
backpedaling and
against
trying
the
to
wall.
fix it.
This is a
That's what it looks like to me anyway.
Slippery politician whose state is failing. People are leaving his state, and he's trying to run interference for his failure.
We've got to take our second break. We're gonna, when we come back, we have a lot more ground to cover.
Okay.
Quick break. We have a lot of ground to cover. More with Governors DeSantis and Newsom, the great blue-red state debate, as we continue from Alpharetta, Georgia. Again, thank you.
And I'm going to turn Hannity down for a minute while we go to commercials. And ask me anything in the chat. If you have any comments, please put them in. I'm trying to monitor as best as I can. And if you want to know about me, I've got a lot of information about me on my campaign site, www.shouldjennirun.com, JENNI. I'm not actually a candidate. This is an exploratory committee. Seeing if I got enough funds, if I could get enough, it's not even funds, it's support. But you have to meet a bar minimum to get on the ballot. So I could actually go against DeSantis and Trump in the primaries, change the whole outcome of the thing, because no one's talking truth and no one's talking. You can see what's going on. Border. Part of the party, especially the Democrat Party, for years on the southern border, has pretty much, for decades, pretty much encouraged and lied to people coming in, wanting to encourage them to come in. I think they think it helps their voter pool. I mean, it's not party specific, but I think that's what they want. What it's done is it's created, now we have upper, shrinking middle, and lower class due to policies, and then you've got the underling class of undocumented. Because the country is not supposed to have class. It's supposed to be a classless society, but because we keep encouraging it, we end up with this undocumented class that gets treated worse. You want to look at pretty much any problem in the United States, and it ties back to this in some way, at least a percentage of it. Anything, healthcare, crime, anything. And I'm not saying we've got a lot of good immigrants, both legal and illegal, coming across the border, coming into the United States. Most immigrants have a good heart. Most immigrants are trying to better themselves. There's a percentage that want to do it through violent or illegal and other problematic means. And that's, you can't have policies that say everybody's bad, but you can't have policies that assume everybody's good. You have to have some sort of check and balances. And these two extremes between the parties are never going to solve anything. It's horrible. Oh, hope everyone's having a good evening. This is interesting. I wonder if we're going to get into transgender. Me being a Republican from all my life, finding out I'm intersex, going through what I'm going through here now with this, it's crazy, and still staying a Republican for the time being. And then we have the Republican from Florida who's, well, if you look at what DeSantis is doing with transgender and LGBTQ, people running from their lives. And I'm sitting here in California with a heavy Democrat state. I'm a fish out of water, I guess. I don't know. I just look at things quite a bit differently in this debate. It's very interesting. I wish I could figure out where the stat was to show me who's streaming on what platform, because this one's telling me I'm using Restream so I can multi-stream. So comment on whatever platform you're on, and I should be able to see it. But I'm not sure who's on which platform. It tells me there's 6 of you out there somewhere. Oh, I'm gonna have to work on this. I'm not used to Restream that much yet. I'm glad I have it, but okay, we're coming back. I'm gonna turn up the volume.
All right, welcome back to the great blue state, red state debate with Governor Gavin Newsom, Governor Ron DeSantis. Again, thank you both for being here. We're going to take a little breathing room. I don't mind the debate taking on a life of its own, but let each other breathe. I don't want to be the hall monitor. Please don't turn me into that. Anyway, let's look at the issue of crime. FBI numbers violent crime nationally for each of your states. Keep in mind, this statistic shows what is the combined rate of homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, the year 2022. On the national level, the rate was 380.7 offenses per 100,000 people. In California, meanwhile, the rate was much higher, 499.5 offenses per 100,000. In Florida, lower, 258.9 offenses per 100,000. Governor Newsom, let me start with you. Your numbers are way higher than the national average. How do you explain that when safety and security, I would argue, is a prerequisite for the pursuit of happiness?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. We're near 50-year lows, down 55% violent crimes in the state of California from the 1990s. And I want to compare and contrast that with the issue in Florida that you didn't mention, and that's the murder rate. And let's broaden it more broadly. The issue is 7 of the top 10.
Those numbers were part of the murder rate. 7
of the top 10 murder rates in the United States of America are red states. He has a 66% higher gun death rate than the state of California. Has a higher murder rate. Go to places like Jacksonville. Go to places like Orlando. Go to places like Tampa. The murder rate's off the charts compared to cities like San Francisco. And you know what? Even more egregiously, Sean, and I think this is important, the American people deserve an answer from you, Ron. You had one of the worst mass shootings in American history, Parkland. 17 kids were gunned down, lives lost, 17 others, lives torn asunder. Mm-hmm. You had a young girl by the name of Jamie Gutenberg, whose father pleaded with you to do something about it. And you know what you did? You did the exact opposite. You made it easier for felons to get guns without background checks, without any training. These people pleaded with you, the parents and the families, to get tough on gun safety. And again, you made it easier for felons. He said of you, Ron, and I agree with him, after after you signed that concealed carry bill, which increases the likelihood, Fred Guttenberg said, of more Jamies losing their lives and more Parklands, he called you weak, pathetic, and small.
We'll talk about
with
gun
respect,
control afterwards.
I appreciate you're talking to police officers in the state of California. You may want to spend a little bit more time, not on the Ohio Trail and other places across this country. You may spend a little more time back in your home state and address the murder and gun violence in your own backyard.
So this is the slick politician. You put up the rates. He has 500 per 100,000. Florida is 250. So that's almost twice as much. And he's trying to spin that to say California's doing good. People are leaving California in droves, largely because public safety has collapsed. They have, I mean, you go, when Californians come to Florida, one of the things they'll say, it's almost like an out-of-body experience. They can go to the store, get toothpaste off the shelf, pay for it, and leave, because in a lot of these places in California, everything's under lock and key because they've basically legalized retail theft. They have chosen in California to put the interests of the criminals over public safety. They treat they're easier on sex offenders. They're easier on all these crimes that are leading to a collapse in the quality of life. And if you just walk around San Francisco, you will see, and I think it's interesting, Gavin Newsom was mayor of San Francisco. So he took the San Francisco model, turned that into a template for California's collapse. Now the left wants to take the California model and use that as a template for America's collapse. We cannot let that happen.
Wait, I got to, Governor, no, I got a follow-up question.
You brought up Jacksonville, Florida, compared to San Francisco is 126% higher.
Governor, let me bring up your,
it's 84%
the next question dovetails into this.
It's 75% higher.
Let me also say,
what are you talking about when it comes
jabbering? I know you like to jabber.
By the way, those are all easily
I know you like to lie.
Anytime you're uncomfortable,
he put the statistics up there.
Those are all
your crime is higher.
You know, 45% statistics are made up on the spot.
What are you
I'm going to move on.
That's right. About 63% of statistics are made up on the spot.
Let the audience look at the numbers, the FBI numbers, and decide. According to the gun control advocacy group, every town for gun safety. Okay? California has the most, as you support, I know, Governor, restrictive gun laws in the United States. Florida has the 19th most restrictive. Yet, if you look at the year 2019, when each of you took office, California has had 21 mass shootings. Florida has had 9. Now, that is according to a USA Today, AP, Northeastern University database data. Keep in mind, a mass killing is defined as the intentional killing of 4 or more victims, excluding the deaths of unborn children and the offenders by any means within a 24 period of time. I believe, Governor DeSantis, you get this first. Go ahead.
What California wants to do is they want to make it harder for law-abiding citizens to defend themselves. Then they go easy on the criminals who are perpetrating the crime. They don't stand up for the men and women of law enforcement. That's why a lot of people have left the state, because they don't get the support from the communities that they need. And, you know, Gavin told another lie. He said we made it easier for felons to do. Felons are not allowed to possess firearms. That's federal law. That's been long-standing.
No background checks.
That is an absolute lie that he's saying like that. That has nothing to do with buying or purchasing a weapon. So that's just a lie, another lie that's coming up. But here's the thing. People are leaving California in droves because he has failed to stand up for public safety. They are on an ideological joyride to let people out of prison early, to go easy on them. Heck, your buddy, Gavin's buddy in Los Angeles, Gascon, he doesn't even prosecute. When you have, when I was in Southern California for the Reagan debate, a lot of the women tell me they have to take off all their jewelry just to be able to go shopping, because otherwise they're going to get mugged. That is the reality that people are facing in California. Gavin can try to put lipstick on that pig, but the fact of the matter is he has failed the people of California.
I love this guy talking about back in the blue when you dangled pardons for January 6 insurrectionists, 85 of them that were literally charged with attacking law enforcement. You talk a big game about backing the blue. With all due respect to the crime rate, again, he's not answering the fact that he has a higher murder rate than the state of California, a 66% higher gun death rate than the state of California. And I can easily answer this point. Gun safety saves lives. I don't think it, I know it. And the data bears that out in the state of California. California proudly does lead in terms of common sense gun safety. Common sense gun safety saves lives. You had the chance to do something meaningful. You had a chance to do something on behalf of those Parkland families. You did the exact opposite. You moved in the exact opposite direction. With all due respect, look at your own backyard, Ron.
So
You're
I
not
will do
mining
that.
your
But can I
backyard
respond
on
to
this
that?
issue.
I will do that because we have we had two radical left Soros district attorneys, like your buddy Gascon in LA, one in Tampa, one in Orlando. They were endangering the public, and I removed them from their posts. Gavin Newsom has not lifted a finger to rein in Gascon in LA. That city has collapsed. That county's collapsed because he is not enforcing the law. So that's just the and here's the thing. This is what's happening. That California model,
We're a little over
that's
time.
been done in Philadelphia,
15
Baltimore, all
15 seconds. We got to go break.
Come on. I mean, you're running for president of the United States. You're talking down the great state of California. You're talking down one of the great American cities, Los Angeles. That's insulting. And you're doing it because you're trying to obfuscate the facts that you have a higher murder rate in the state of Florida and the state of California.
We got to
have some
take
of
a
the
break.
lowest crime rates we've had in 50 years.
Well, we'll have more with Governor DeSantis, Governor Gavin Newsom on the other side as we continue the great state debate, blue versus red. There's hardly any differences. A lot of ground to cover. Thank you for being with us. We are in beautiful Alpharetta, Georgia. Thank you for joining us on Hannity.
They've got to take a break. That's a chance to talk. If you guys have any questions, put it in the chat. I just realized my Twitch stream is still set as a poker stream for some reason. Switch it to politics. There we go. I'll fix that later. I'll remember to fix that beforehand. Okay. How's everyone doing? Oh, they get on my nerves after a while. We were talking about gun control. So this is an area I've been trying to figure out for years on how to do this because I believe in the Second Amendment. A lot of reasons for that include invasion. You know, we can go on all the reasons why we have the Second Amendment, all the history behind it. And I believe that we should be able to carry weapons, but we've got problems with getting them. And I see all the problems with people that don't like guns. The thing is, at the federal level in the United States, we have to deal with laws that work for downtown LA, in Montana and Alaska, which are two completely different things. And you need different types of guns, different types of situations. I think what I've come down to is what we need to do is to have a gun licensure system that works a lot like with background checks and everything else, but it works a lot like driver's license. You have different classes of driver's license. You can pretty much operate any vehicle if you get a high enough license. And there's a very low class ID that you can basically, you can drive certain vehicles without a driver's license. You can drive a bicycle without a driver's license. There's certain things you could do. And I think we need to have a similar thing with a joint national registry, a partially joint national registry, similar to how we do Real ID, with the gun laws. And then you could do both. You'd help the gun, the anti-gun folks, that side of that angle of looking at things with better control and better tracking, but we would still have it if you went up in license and passed tests and training. Maybe we could expand what people could own if they took all the tests and training and everything. So I think we can come up with some sort of a balance. It's taken me years to try to figure that out. And there's different little nuances, different ways we could do that. it's a very interesting issue in the United States with the gun laws. It just, it does deter other countries. They look at that in their battle plans. It allows us, because there's no way that you can respond with gun law. You can rely on police and everything for everything. UK just got rid of gun laws. You know what? They have problems with stabbings. You still have, if somebody wants to do a mass shooting and they don't get a gun, there's a lot of other things that people do to do mass casualties. We've had people use a pressure cooker. Removing guns isn't going to solve the mass casualty. Controlling guns and keeping an eye on things and a big mental health thing can get there. It's sad. The whole thing's sad, but there's things we can do to balance it out. Okay, 6 people watching somewhere, somehow, and we're back to the Hannity.
Red state, blue state debate. We continue with Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, Governor Gavin Newsom of the state of California. Gentlemen, let's turn to the issue of parental rights. Now, in March of last year, Governor DeSantis, as you know, you signed the Parental Rights in Education bill. And let me read from it. It says, classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in according with state standards. Critics have called the bill, quote, homophobic. This is the one they branded the Don't Say Gay bill. I ask you, Governor DeSantis, especially the lower grades, should schools, and maybe all grades, should schools be focusing on reading, writing, math, science, history, computers, and maybe leaving values, considering parents might have different values than teachers at school, to the parents, to religious institutions?
My son in a charter school.
Or is it the role of the school? What is the role?
The role of the school is to educate kids, not indoctrinate kids. It's not to impose an agenda. It's to do the basics. And what we've said in Florida is it's inappropriate to tell a kindergartner that their gender is a choice. It's inappropriate to tell a second grader that they may have been born in the wrong body. Now, California has that. They want to have that injected into the elementary school. My wife and I have a 7-5 and a 3-year-old. We don't think that that's appropriate. And I know most parents do not think it's appropriate. It's also important to respect parental rights, to know what curriculum is being used in the classroom, and everything should be age appropriate. I actually have something that I brought that some parents have objected to. So this is a book that's in some of the schools in California. Florida, this is not consistent with our standards, called Gender Queer. Some of it's blacked out. You would not probably be able to put this on air. This is pornography. It's cartoons. It's aimed at children. And it's wrong. So this should not be in schools.
What that is,
when people like on the left say that somehow you're banning books by removing this from a young kid's classroom. No, this is not age appropriate. And so we're going to stand for the rights of parents. I think we need to do that nationwide. I don't think you can have a situation where some states just trample on the rights of parents. Parents have a fundamental right to direct the education and upbringing of their kids.
I mean, by the way, you've been on a banning bench. 1,406 books have been banned just last year under Ron DeSantis' leadership. I love that he keeps pulling this out. I've seen this. He's been doing this all over the campaign trail. What's wrong with Toni Morrison's books?
It's not banned.
What's wrong? It's not true.
Not.
What's wrong with Amanda Gorman's?
It's not banned.
And the poetry. 1,406. 1,406 books have been banned on your banning bench in the state of Florida as it relates to parental rights. Come on, California, it's in our Constitution, parental engagement. It's called the LCFF process. We actually require parental engagement on curriculum development. And we don't, complete lie, we don't require K through 3rd grade sexual education. That doesn't happen until middle school. What you're doing is using education as a sword for your cultural purge. And you know what? With all due respect.
Absolutely.
You know, I remember in the 1970s. We had a bill called the Briggs Initiative. And there was a guy by the name of Ronald Reagan so offended by the Briggs Initiative, which was the original Don't Say Gay bill. In that case, it was not allowing teachers that happened to be gay to teach. And Reagan had the courage to stand up, and he said, you can't catch gay like you can measles. I don't like the way you demean people. I don't like the way you demean the LGBTQ community. I don't like the way you demean and humiliate people you disagree with, Ron. I really find this fundamentally offensive, and this is a core value that distinguishes the values of my state and
I used to
frankly,
be
the vast
against
majority of Americans against the weaponization of education
How is
and
it
the
demeaning
purging
anybody?
that he's advancing.
I have a follow-up
5 to 10
question
years
for you,
ago, I
though.
probably would have been on DeSantis'
And by the
side,
way,
but I learned.
first governor, yes or no, are the book banning issues, is that not a state issue? Is that a state issue or a local issue?
Local, and he's
Okay,
lying.
that's all I want to know.
The home book wasn't
But
there. That
here's
was
the
not
question I
okay,
have.
yeah.
1,400
Here's the
books have
question
been
I have
banned
for
in
you,
the state.
Governor Newsom.
1,406.
Some of the books you're talking about, one is called, the governor just brought it up, it's called Gender Queer, a memoir, explicit pornographic book showing sex acts. Another, Flamer, graphic book about young boys performing sex acts at summer camp. This book is Gay, a book containing instructions on the ins and outs of gay sexuality. Let me finish. Let's Talk About It, a book that contains graphic descriptions about how to masturbate for males and females. My question to you, Governor Newsom, those books, do you believe that's appropriate for school districts to teach kids, yes or no?
Come on, those aren't. It's not part of the curriculum. They're not teaching
those
kids
are those are books that were in school.
Hold on. The bottom line is you are on a book banning binge, your state. 1,406 books, 3,362 in this country.
You didn't answer.
Florida's
what about
leading,
those books?
Florida. That's not. We don't provide for K through third grade education that kind of curriculum. It's just made up. These guys make it up. It's part of this cultural purge.
Should it
it's
be?
Just a made
what grade? What grade would it be acceptable?
What I find offensive, Sean and Ron, what I find offensive is a very significant number of these books happen to be LGBTQ books. A significant number of these books happen to be about African Americans.
Do you think it's
honestly find it
Governor?
I told you,
think it's
we don't
appropriate in
teach that.
school?
We don't teach that.
Talk, Kennedy.
We have sex education in middle schools and high schools where it's appropriate. This is a ginned up, made up issue to divide this country. You talk about dividing this country. This is part of the culture war, the weaponization of grievance. This is part using education. We're focusing on math, science. We're focusing on reimagining our school
system. We're going to get to education
He's criminalizing teachers and criminalizing librarians.
Check out the schools to impose a liberal agenda, social justice. They have this ethnic studies where they're dividing people. That's what they're doing. But let me just say something about parents' rights, because he says California respects parents' rights. This is rich. He's been telling a lot of whoppers tonight. This may be the biggest. In California, if you're a parent in Iowa or New Hampshire or South Carolina, your minor child can go to California without your knowledge or without your consent and get hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and a sex change operation.
Oh, that
all
is
without
not
you
how
knowing
that
or
works.
consenting. How in the heck
that is entirely lies.
Honoring parents' rights when you're bringing people from out of state to go around their parents' backs and getting life-altering surgeries? That is radical. That is extreme.
Yeah, you know what
that is
come here mainly for? Breast augmentation for girls.
Ron,
it's not for you to decide. It's for the parents to decide. And the parents do not want their kids going to these other things.
Let me go to a follow-up. Let me stay on a follow-up. Let's turn to the issue of education.
We can talk about this as much as we want.
Of ripping somebody away.
Gentlemen, please. Nobody can hear you.
Should I just keep talking over them too? Because I can't hear anything when they're talking like this. So I'll just keep talking like this.
Let us turn, gentlemen, if I may, to the issue of education. Here is public school spending per K through 12 students, according to the Education Data Initiative from the U.S. Census Bureau and National Center for Education. Florida spends nearly $12,000 per student, while California spends over $16,000. Florida is ranked #1 by U.S. News & World Report. In terms of state education rankings, California ranks 20th. Governor Newsom, what is your explanation? You spend more money and they have better results in Florida. Why?
I told you what I'm doing in public education. We created a brand new grade, pre-K for all. We're doing after school and summer school for all. We're reimagining the school day, not just the school year. We just provided 3.4 million of our students upwards of $2 billion for child savings accounts and the opportunity to start businesses when they graduate. We have one of the best records under COVID, during COVID. And again, you didn't answer to the fact you had more learning loss. Ron DeSantis had more learning loss during COVID. Fourth grade reading, fourth grade math, eighth grade reading, eighth grade math. We outperformed you in it's a fact during COVID in every one of those categories. I can't wait to get all the PolitiFacts tonight because, Ron, you keep denying some basic fundamental facts on health, wealth, and education. We outperformed you during COVID. You talk about things to apologize. You should apologize for your COVID record. You were with Fauci. You aligned with vaccines. You aligned with CDC guidelines until you didn't, and tens of thousands of people died.
Let's return our focus to education.
Well, when we opened the schools, we bucked all of those people June of 2020. He kept the schools closed for a long time, and that had devastating impacts. And why? What Gavin Newsom does in California is kowtow to the teachers union. Whatever they tell him to do, he does. He will never balk the teachers union. That's why the kids were locked out of school for so long. Joe Biden is in the pocket of the teachers union, and so is Kamala Harris. That's why they fought school openings when he came in there. When they had that in there.
It's Kamala
Biden came
Harris,
into office
Madam
and he
Vice
brought in the
President
teacher
Kamala
union
Harris.
to be able to do
Stop
all these
insulting
different things to try to keep the schools closed. So the Democratic Party, the far left in this country, they are owned lock, stock, and barrel by the teachers union. I beat the teachers union in Florida to get the schools open, first in the country during COVID, also to do universal school choice. Every parent in Florida has a right to send their kid to the school of their choice. We're winning these fights. California is bending the knee to the union because they control the politicians.
All right, let's move on. A topic that will seemingly play a very large role in the
That's why I wanna
future
do
elections,
politics.
and
I
it's
would
the
actually
issue
be
of
true,
abortion.
as much
I
as
have
I
a
could
question
be,
for
or as
both
much
of
as I
you.
know how.
I'll ask you to please respect the individual's right to answer uninterrupted.
Yeah, DeSantis,
and that is Governor DeSantis.
a lot of those other books
I think
were
it's
at
actually
the
your
local
turn,
level
Governor Newsom,
the
if
way
you don't
they
mind.
interpreted the state
Most
law.
medical
So,
professionals believe a baby is viable outside
problem
of a
with
mother's womb by between 24 and 26 weeks. That is the
always think
general
about the
scientific
side
consensus. It changes. There are some variations on it. Abortion is legal in your state, quote, up to viability, is my understanding, unless the mother's health is in danger. I'd like to get you on the record. You've been unwilling to answer this question. Should there be any restrictions on the issue of abortion that you support at all? Because funding in California, you have allocated in your budget $265 million for abortion last year alone. My question, very specific. Do you support any restrictions at all on abortion, especially in months 7, 8, and 9, past viability?
I'm going to answer that question, but let's talk about the issue of abortion. Let's talk about the issue of abortion.
You're going to answer it?
I'm going to answer that question. Okay. I'll repeat that. But I think this is important, and it bears repeating. Ron DeSantis has signed the most extreme anti-abortion bills in America. He signed a bill banning any exceptions for rape and incest. And then he said it didn't go far enough and decided to sign a 6-week ban before women even know they're pregnant, Ron, before women can even access a doctor's appointment. So extreme is your ban that criminalizes women and criminalizes doctors that even Donald Trump said it was too extreme. On the issue of the extreme exception that you highlight as it relates to the issue of later-term abortion, it's almost always because of a fetal anomaly, the life of the mother. And in those rare cases, I trust, and answer your question, I trust the mother and her doctor to make that decision.
So in other words, I want to be clear on this. If a woman and her doctor, for any reason...
Not for any reason.
No.
I'm extremely rare.
Should there be...
I know where you guys are going, Sean. You're even uncomfortable with this whole issue. And I understand it. This is where you guys have to go to cover for the extreme anti-abortion agenda of Ron DeSantis.
Should there be... Would you support a ban on abortion in 7th, 8th, or 9th month if the mother's life is not in jeopardy?
Extreme exception. People aren't going on and having abortions.
Should it be illegal then?
Unless something
if
devastating has happened,
should it be illegal?
Should be up to the mother and her doctor and her conscience. And it
so
almost
no restriction.
I've already answered it, and I'll just
restriction.
reinforce it to cover it again. Hold on. For the most extreme abortion ban in the country, I have a simple question though. This is important.
No. I'm asking the question.
Ron DeSantis, will you or will you not sign a 6-week ban in the unlikely case?
Governor DeSantis, let's talk about
why
ban.
none
Let's
of us,
talk
a
about
lot of
your
us don't
state.
like
To
you.
that, he's
You
getting
had-
saved
you
here
had 15
on that
weeks.
fundamental question.
You had a 15-week rule in California. You reduced it to 6. My question is this. What was your thinking behind
Florida.
it? Was it for religious reasons? Was it for scientific reasons? What was the reason for you from going from 15 weeks to 6 weeks?
Well, I believe in a culture of life. I think we're better off when everybody counts, when everybody has an opportunity to do well, and that bill attaches
true,
when there's a
but-
detectable heartbeat for the child. And some states have done that. Some states have done others. Some states have done later. And obviously, they have a right to do that. But I think about one of our Floridians, a lady named Penny Hopper. She actually survived a late-term abortion back in the day, and they left her on the table there to basically wither away. Her grandmother came, saved her, brought her to a hospital,
I'm glad we're
saved
being able
her,
to have
and
this
she ended up
discussion
living
again, though. It
living a
should-
good life. So
back to the
she
States.
counts and she matters. And I think that what the position that we have from the modern left, including in California, is that they will take your tax dollars and they will fund abortion all the way to the moment of birth. He's wrong when he says the later terms are all because of this. 88% past 15 weeks are in fact elective from
Past
the
15
Florida data. He
weeks,
doesn't
that's-
keep data there. But that is really extreme to take
4
your
months.
tax dollars and to
Right.
do this all the way up to the moment of birth. He didn't answer your question about any type of protections at all for a baby that has a beating heart, that can feel pain, that is
All right.
viable.
Let me.
But he-
hold on.
It's all that it's the
this is
thing.
a-
When
an
does
important
the
conversation? Will you or will you not support
you didn't
a
answer
national?
Sean. Why
Ron,
didn't you
will
answer
or will
his
you
question?
not support
Why didn't
a
you
national
support?
ban if
Why-
it lands on your desk? You couldn't answer that in any other context.
Okay,
Answer it
gentlemen,
tonight. It's a
we're
simple
moving
yes or no.
on to
By
the
way,
next
hey,
issue.
Move on to the next
Sean,
issue.
not a
You
next
never
issue.
gave a week.
The American people should know this. I'll answer it for Ron DeSantis. He can't answer it. He will sign that extreme
Okay,
6-week
let me move
national
on.
ban. The American people should know that.
I'm calling this the lightning round. It would be great if you guys cooperated. I'm not a potted plant here.
I'm not doing my
and
pause and
wanna
answer the
ask
questions
you,
like I normally do
We all know
tonight.
that federal policy does have a huge impact on states. We know that. I'm going to ask you 3 simple questions, and I just want one-word answers, okay, from 3 of you, because
do our best.
we're coming up on a break. And the issue is right now Joe Biden is president.
Yep.
So I would like both of you to give a grade to Joe Biden overall as president. Governor Newsom,
A.
I'll give A.
An A, absolutely.
Governor
I think it's been a
DeSantis.
master
Failed.
And a failure. Okay.
No, that's your
Now,
campaign
number
for
2,
president.
are his policies
C.
helping or hurting your individual states? Is it helping the state of Florida?
The inflation is hurting our state big time.
Grade.
Fail. He failed.
Yeah.
He's failed
What
on the
would you-
economy.
The guy just took
Is it helping
$28
the
million
state of
from the
California?
Science and Tech Act. Thank you, Joe Biden. It's absolutely accelerating our dominance in manufacturing, accelerating our revitalization.
Okay,
of
that
our
was a
state.
simple
The answer is
answer.
unequivocally,
Lastly.
absolutely yes.
Okay. I will ask you, Governor DeSantis. I have played over and over again, and Governor Newsom, you have seen over and over again. Joe Biden is experienced what I believe to be significant cognitive decline. And in other words, it's the toughest job in the world. Is Joe Biden experiencing this cognitive decline? Is it a danger to the country? Do you find when he speaks, what is your reaction to it?
Yes, he's in decline. Yes, it's a danger to the country. He has no business running for president. And, you know, Gavin Newsom agrees with that. He won't say that. But that's why he's running his shadow campaign. He should not be running. He is not up to the job. And it is dangerous for this country.
Well, I will take Joe Biden at 100 versus Ron DeSantis any day of the week at any age. In fact, all of the
you
folks
think
on the
he's up to the
campaign
job?
trail.
You think he's 100%?
I've been spending
100%?
plenty of time with Joe
100%?
Biden in
Okay.
private
Let
and
him
public.
answer.
You don't know. And by the way, results matter. Inflation now is down to 3.2%. Wages are up to 4.4%. The economy is booming, 5.2% GDP growth in the last quarter. Those are facts you don't hear on Fox News. 14 million jobs, 10 times
Let me
more than the
move
last
on. That
3
was the lightning
Republican
round.
presidents
Now,
combined.
on
Yeah,
March
but that's coming out
31st,
of
1968, President Lyndon B. Johnson famously said, "I shall not seek and I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president." Now, despite being an incumbent president who is eligible to run for re-election, Governor Newsom, I've interviewed you twice on this issue. You say you are not running for president in 2024. In fact, you recently said, quote, you think that Vice President Harris is naturally the one lined up to run for president if Joe Biden were to bow out. Governor Newsom, tonight I ask you, will you make an LBJ-like statement? And Governor DeSantis, you say he's running a shadow campaign. In your response, I would like you to answer that. Will you say unequivocally, under no circumstances are you running?
Correct. I've said, I don't know how many times I can say it. Just making this stuff up about a shadow campaign.
If
Bottom line,
if at the DNC convention they come and ask you, will you run? What will you say?
Joe Biden will be our nominee in a matter of weeks. And in a matter of weeks, Sean, he'll be endorsing Donald Trump as a nominee for the Republican Party.
If they come to you at the DNC and Joe is incapable of running and they ask you, are you a hard no?
It's not even optional. He's doing fantastically. I appreciate and respect the work the president's doing and the vice president's, the Biden-Harris campaign and team. So absolutely unequivocally, I look forward
Harris would be the next
continuing to support their efforts. President Biden will be reelected. Donald Trump will be rejected.
I think what he's saying should color every single thing. I mean, I've called him on a lot of the lies, but he says Joe Biden is 100% up to the job. You know that that's not true. Anybody that can look, he wants you to believe him over your own lying eyes. When he says the economy is so great, how great is it when you're going to the grocery store now? How great is it when you're trying to afford a home? How are those interest rates doing? What about affording a new car? So we have to get real here. We have to understand that Biden is not up to job. But here's I think the problem. What Biden would do, the people around him, they would look to California for the model to go forward in the next 4 years. That would accelerate the decline of this country. Yeah. Freedom is what works. The failures need to be left in the dustbin of history.
You say freedom, but that's not how you're
freedom
doing
to
it.
women that you're trying to criminalize in your state. And
all right,
we're
we're retreating to old ground. For years,
this notion of freedom,
gentlemen,
Florida is not a state of freedom.
One of the things I wanted to accomplish here is the policies that you both implement have a great impact on the citizens of your individual states. For years, a gallon of gasoline, Governor Newsom, in California has been notably higher in your state than in the state of Florida.
That's right.
Here are the numbers, by the way, recent numbers. The average cost for a gallon of gas nationwide, just over $3.24. In Florida, $3.17. In California, it is a whopping $4.85. So, Governor Newsom, I ask you, you've also sued big oil companies alleging executives have deceived the public about the health of our planet, knowing that it's a polluter. If your lawsuit is successful, that would likely mean higher gas prices, even higher gas prices for everybody. Here's my question, though. Could you name right now one source of energy that you can bring online in the next 3 to 6 months that would be as inexpensive for the people in this country as fossil fuels?
Well, let me touch.
Can you think of that energy?
Let me touch on I'm going to get to your question, and then let me touch the latter part of your question. Let me give the first part of the question.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. Since the 1980s, Republican administrations, Democratic administrations have experienced, under their stewardship, experienced higher gas prices in the state of California. We've been ripped off by big oil. We continue to be ripped off by big oil. Big oil now has met a new foe, and that's the state of California, the most aggressive anti-gouging law in America, more transparency being required than any time in America.
Transparency,
and yes,
I'm big for that.
We're suing the industry responsible for this climate crisis. By the way, the same climate crisis that Ron DeSantis celebrated as human-caused, who campaigned for a fracking ban, who campaigned to oppose offshore oil drilling, and then 2 days after he got elected, signed an executive order. By the way, Nikki Haley had you dead to right on this, Ron. Signed an executive order doubling down, saying you're adamantly opposed to fracking, adamantly opposed to offshore oil drilling. You were celebrated by the Sierra Club for that action until you weren't. Once again, it shows the hypocrisy of Ron DeSantis. Now you're running away from climate change as things have gotten worse. Hurricanes, wildfires, droughts, and floods. $179 billion of weather-related disasters. And he has no response except talking
dropped the
points
mouse again.
from big oil.
Governor
We'll
Newsom.
take them
That
on.
was a
Governor
mouthful.
DeSantis.
Again, just more lies. But here's the thing: California is the only one that oil companies are gouging. Why aren't they doing that to Georgia or Florida or these other states that have lower gas prices? Because of their policies. That's why people are paying more there. What Gavin Newsom wants to do, what he's doing in California, what Biden wants to do nationally, is government-dictated green energy policies. They want to kneecap fossil fuels and reliable energy. We've already seen what's happened in California. They have rolling blackouts. He actually implemented a mandate to buy electric vehicles. So pretty soon in California, you're not going to be able to buy a normal car, only electric vehicles. And they celebrated that as like a great thing. A couple days later, there was a notice from the state government telling all EV owners, do not plug in your EV because they don't have enough grid capacity. So he is walking his people into a big-time disaster. What Biden wants to do is he wants to take the California model. He wants to impose that nationally. He wants to take away your ability to purchase the car that you want. He wants to kneecap reliable energy. And he wants to bring these rolling blackouts all across the United States of America. It doesn't work. It's going to cause huge problems. We have more energy here. We can be the dominant energy producer in the world. And that's what we're going to do. Florida is not a big energy state. We have the Marcellus Shale. We have the West Texas. We have all of that. So let's do that. No forcing electric vehicles.
We got to take
Save
a break.
the American automobile.
When we come back, we'll continue the great state, red state, blue state debate. More with Governor Ron DeSantis, more with Governor Gavin Newsom. As we continue, thank you for being with us from Alpharetta, Georgia.
Yeah, between this and the discussion on Israel, I keep thinking we're going to have them come up and say one state, two state, red state, blue state. That's a lot of this seems to be about the equivalent of a Dr. Seuss novel, the way they're behaving. At least that level of maturity. Okay. Did I say Dr. Seuss novel? Oh, what do you guys think? See, Kathy, thanks for your comments. Yeah, they both drive me crazy with their lies, and they do it differently. The way Newsom just has it and keeps insisting. DeSantis tends to do the same thing that President Obama would do a lot too. He'd say something that was a good point and back it up by something, but you get down into the details behind it. It's like, wait, what are you talking about? That's how you're doing it. That's how you want to do it. And it's a whole mess of an issue. Let's see, what were we talking about? I just distracted myself. What was the subject matter we were just talking about? We've gone through immigration. Fossil fuel. I started talking about California. You went dumb environmental policies. We have, I could give you a lot of them. Dumb environmental policy or short-sighted environmental policy. Nobody wants offshore drilling because it causes problems. Yet we will truck in shipping these boats for tanker, which have chance to leak themselves. Meanwhile, we have natural seepage from underground crude oil reserves because of the way our geography is that come up and kill wildlife, pollute our beaches, but it's natural. So they don't do anything about it. We could actually go put a drilling system out there, relieve that pressure, just enough that it's seeping up and causing all the damage. We would have a source of fuel. We get, things burn so much cleaner now. It doesn't cause nearly the problems that we used to, and we keep improving it. LA's improved so much, but we could have the good source of fuel there and improve the environment. But it's ugly and it's offshore drilling, so no one wants to do it. We used to have here in my hometown wanting to put in a cogen plant, which a cogen for a sewage treatment plant is where sewage treatment, they have to burn off the excess gas for safety reasons. A cogen utility facility specifically designed to capture that heat from the fire and use it to generate energy that then can be reduce the consumption of electricity by the plant. Well, our city paid for it, bought it. and the state didn't approve it. It wasn't on the approved list of the type. So we ended up taking a loss on it, having to sell it out of state to Nevada where they could use it. Bought one that it was approved on the approved list, approved by the state. Go to install it. They won't install it because, get this, it might not meet the future standards. That's right, might not meet the future standards, not even the standards that were current. Meanwhile, it just burns the gas and the fumes just go into the atmosphere. All of that extra energy being pulled off the grid. There's a lot of corruption in politics and energy stuff, and I'm sure it's happening a lot here. It's happening here, California. Why do we think we recalled Gray Davis? Was because he signed energy bills that put us in these long-term contracts. That was the straw that broke the camel's back there. And they keep wanting to tie us more and more to the grid. I have used hybrid vehicles. Plug-in hybrids would be great if they would build them correctly. They're great. You'd be able to use them as an electric. Even the non-plug-in, you use it as electric for a while, and then it switches to gas, whatever's available. And then you're not tied to the grid.
Welcome back to
the debate.
Welcome back to Hannity, the Great Red State Blue State debate. We continue with Governor Gavin Newsom, Governor Ron DeSantis.
Tell me what you want me to talk
according
about
to the
afterwards.
Department of Housing and Urban Development, these are the numbers for the homeless population in each of your states.
Belgium
it is a
makes my
big
skin
problem
crawl,
around
too.
the country. In the state of California, it is 172,000. In Florida, it is 26,000. Now, the per capita numbers are pretty much the same. For California, it is 44 per 10,000 people, while Florida has 12 per 10,000 people. So, Governor DeSantis, I ask you, why the disparity? What are the policies you are implementing that is different from that of California?
California's adopting leftist policies. Gavin Newsom was governor or mayor of San Francisco. He put out a 10-year plan like 20 years ago. He was going to end homelessness. Then a few years later, he had another plan. And now he says he's going to do, and it's only gotten worse. In the last 10 years in California, the homeless has gone up 45%. It's gone down in Florida 45%. But it's caused a huge problem with quality of life in California. The people that flee always bring up this. They've really empowered lawlessness and drug use. And, you know, Gavin Newsom at one point tried to say that California was the freedom state. And I just kind of laughed, like, you're locking people down, you're doing all this. But then I thought about it, you know, California does have freedoms that some people don't, that other states don't. You have the freedom to defecate in public in California. You have the freedom to pitch a tent on Sunset Boulevard. You have the freedom to create a homeless encampment under a freeway and even light it on fire. You have the freedom to have an open-air drug market and use drugs. You have the freedom, if you're an illegal alien, to get all these taxpayer benefits. So those are freedoms. They're not the freedoms our founding fathers envisioned, but they have contributed to the destruction of the quality of life in California, and the results speak for themselves. People are leaving the state because they have failed in addressing the homeless population.
Well, I love the rant on freedom. I mean, here's a guy who's criminalizing teachers, criminalizing doctors, criminalizing librarians, and criminalizing women that seek their reproductive care. You're making it harder to vote. You're banning books. I mean, spare me this notion of freedom. Ask the folks at Disney about freedom and free enterprise. Ask the folks at the Special Olympics that you threatened to fine with $27
because they were discriminating against the athletes.
Who goes
after
those Special Olympians
when it comes to the
issue,
Down syndrome,
Ron, of homelessness?
That is wrong. That's being a liberal bully. That's being a bully.
Really?
They had Down syndrome, and you wanted to discriminate against them.
$27 million fine.
They were discriminating against
Special
because they were discriminating against the athletes.
On the
they wanted to marginalize the athletes, and you wanted the athletes marginalized. That was wrong what you did. These are kids with Down syndrome that just wanted to compete.
I grew up working aid to adoption of special kids. I've been working with Special Olympians all my life.
You wanted them to be. You wanted them to be ostracized.
You threatened to fine the Special Olympians
from Florida.
She
got to participate because we stood up for her.
This is the way you treat. By the way, no, hold on.
It's your turn.
No, let me say, I can handle that. I can handle it. I'm used to that. But you know what?
You wanted her
your
not to
attacks
compete.
on the trans community, your
wanted
attack
her
on the
not
gay
to
and lesbian
compete.
community.
That's wrong.
You attack
She should have been
vulnerable
able to
communities.
compete. And
you
we stood
attack
up for
women.
them, and we made sure they could compete.
Ron, relax. I can handle it. I'm used to bullying. You're nothing but a bully.
You're a bully.
I understand that. intimidating and humiliating people.
believe
That's your
different
calling
ways.
Why
card.
did you want the
And by
Special
the way,
Olympians not
how
to be
well
able
is
to
it going
compete?
for you?
Why
How
did you
well
want
is
them
this
not to be able to compete?
How well is this
Why do
campaign
you not
going?
want them to be
He's
able
not
to
going to let me
compete?
talk, so
I
I'll
don't
talk to the
understand why
American
you
people.
want to discriminate
Again, I'll
against an
remind
athlete
you,
with Down
the
syndrome.
blueprint,
He wanted them to be excluded from the
Florida
Special Olympics.
has put Ron
gentlemen, if I
DeSantis
can.
41 points down
Let's go
to
back.
Donald Trump as you try to get tough.
We said
and
that.
out-Trump Trump.
Let's go back to
on
the
issue
homelessness.
of homelessness.
The
It's been an issue for decades in the making in the state of California, ever since we started shuttering down our mental health institutions back in the day, in Ronald
Yes.
Reagan's day. The difference is I'm the first governor in California history to take this head on. We are investing unprecedented resources, more accountability. We've gotten 68,000 people off the streets, close to 6,000 encampments we've gotten off the streets. We've also invested in unprecedented resources in reforming our behavioral health system. Ron has literally the worst mental health system in America, forgive me, outside of Mississippi and Texas. And so with all due respect to being lectured on some of these topics, Ron DeSantis is not the one I'm going to be listening
30-second response. You're
you forced everyone
we're
off the
looking at total
streets
time. Governor DeSantis.
San Francisco,
Look, this is a map of San Francisco. There's a lot of plots on that. You may be asking, what is that plotting? Well, this is an app where they plot the human feces that are found on the streets of San Francisco. And you see how almost the whole thing is covered,
Yes,
because
San
that
Francisco's
is
got a
what has
problem.
happened
People are
in
leaving
one of the
San Francisco in
previous
droves
greatest
more than
cities
anything.
this country's ever had.
coming out my
Human
way.
feces is now a fact of life, except when a communist dictator comes to town. Then they cleaned up the streets. They lined the streets with Chinese flags. They didn't put American flags there. They cleaned
Well, Biden was
everything
coming
up.
too.
So they're willing to do it for a communist dictator, but they're not willing to do it for their own people.
I want to get in with the limited time we have left. I want to get, there are two very important issues we have not hit. After the Hamas terror attacks on October the 7th, we have seen what is nothing short of a disturbing outbreak of virulent hatred, anti-Semitism around the world, in the halls of our Congress, on American streets, on college campuses. Last month, outside in Sydney Opera House in Australia. We've seen it all over Europe, but in Australia, anti-Israeli protesters literally in this day and age chanting, "Gas the Jews, F the Jews." In American cities, we have protesters calling for global Islamic war and demanding that Israel be wiped off the map, or in the words of Congresswoman Tlaib, from the river to the sea. Israel, meanwhile, is vowing to eradicate the terrorist group Hamas. But according to a report in the New York Times this week, U.S. officials have warned Israel that they need more to fight more surgically in Gaza. Governor Newsom, 30 seconds for you. We have to cut back on time.
All right.
How can Israel win the war against this terrorist group using surgical strikes and directions from Joe Biden?
Israel. I visited Israel. I met with families, hostages. I saw videos of children being killed in front of their parents, parents being killed in front of their children. I saw a beheading with a garden hoe. This is not complicated to me. This is a fight between good and evil. Hamas is a terrorist organization, and they need to be eliminated, not just for the people of Israel and Jews around the world, but for the Palestinians themselves. But when it comes to the issue of anti-Semitism, you just mentioned a lot of things that have been occurring on Ron DeSantis's watch. He said nothing.
You're calling him
Masked men
anti-Semitic?
marching. I'm saying he countenanced anti-Semitism, and now he's finally talking a big game ever since October 7th. How about the masked man marching in the street?
Fairness of
Jews
time,
get the rope.
gentlemen,
You said nothing.
Governor DeSantis.
Nothing on these issues. Look
Hamas
at the record.
wants nothing
Governor
short
DeSantis.
than a second
Anti-Semitism needs to
Holocaust.
be-
They want to destroy Israel and
Whatever
wipe
their
every
proven
single
flesh,
Jew off the map. Israel has every right to defend itself to the hilt. Biden should not be kneecapping them in any way, shape, or form. And by the way, Biden stranded a lot of American citizens over there. We're trying to get home. So I did an executive order in Florida, and we sent planes over to Israel right in the aftermath of October 7th, and we saved over 700 Americans, mostly Floridians, but not all, because Biden wouldn't do it. Finally, Biden started dumping people in Greece, and then they were sending a bill to the Americans just to get to Greece. If you come to this country illegally, they will pay to fly you all over the place. They'll put you up in a hotel at no expense. But yet our own citizens fleeing a war zone, they're going to send you a bill. Joe Biden failed those people, and we stepped up and got it
Let me
done.
ask you, I want to turn to the
anti-Semitism
we don't have a lot of time
on your streets for years.
I want to turn to the issue,
and you
gentlemen,
haven't answered
of
that
China. I talk about this often. Intellectual property theft, unfair trade practices. That China has been hostile to our fighter jets in international airspace, hostile to our Navy in international waterways. We know all about the China spy balloon that happened, 8 days right across the United States over military installations. The communist Chinese, they have nationals buying up thousands of acres of ranch land, farmland, and land near military installations. Their hostility towards Taiwan. Governor DeSantis, our #1 geopolitical foe. I don't see that the Biden administration has been tough with them. What would you do differently?
Attacking a cyber
well, first, in Florida, we banned China from buying land in our state because you're right. You don't want them buying farmland or land near military bases. So we acted. We also got the Confucius Institutes out of our universities. China should not be involved in our universities at all. What you need to do is you need to have hard power in the Indo-Pacific to deter China's ambitions. You need to take the economy, and we need to decouple from China. We're dependent on them for so many things. And then finally, we need to get serious about their influence in this country. They shouldn't be able to buy farmland anywhere. I can tell you this, I would not go to China and grovel in front of Xi like Gavin Newsom did. He says China's a partner on climate change. China's adding 2 new coal plants every year. China's laughing at us with what they're doing. So yes, they're the #1 threat we face, and we need to take it seriously, and Joe Biden is not doing that.
This is just a reminder, you know, I think it's a question some people are probably asking. I know Nikki Haley's campaign is asking, when are you going to drop out and at least give Nikki Haley a shot to take down Donald Trump in this nomination? She laid you out. You're a walking hypocrite.
What about
probably one of the best
hypocrite
What about
on
China?
the issue of China? This is the guy that was looking for direct foreign trade from China, was doing trade shows,
That is
open
false.
up an office.
That's already been debunked. And you
absolutely
talk about
not
the liberal
true.
fact
You were
checkers. Even the liberal fact checkers
Donald
did
Trump
that.
himself today
Exploratory
called
to me.
you Red Ron for a reason, because of your complete hypocrisy.
All right, we're almost out of time.
Talking a big game. I confronted Xi on the issue of fentanyl, Ron. I confronted them
Not on
human
human rights,
rights.
you didn't.
I absolutely did, with the foreign minister and the vice president and other leaders in China. You talk a big game. Meanwhile,
We're
you haven't done
over
anything
time.
except tweet things
Final
out.
question, Governor DeSantis. We owe you about 90 seconds, but you get the last word as per the coin flip.
What are you giving me? 5 seconds? What do I get?
No, I'll do okay. I'll be a little more generous than
give me
that.
90.
Look, it's been a very passionate debate tonight. Actually, it's been fun to be a part of. I think the American people will decide. Governing philosophies could not be more different. But let me ask you this, kind of a fun question. You both clearly love your states. You visited each other's state. Governor DeSantis, you can take as much time as you want. You have an extra 90 seconds. What is your favorite thing about the state of California? And
I give him 5 minutes for this.
go right ahead.
That's a good question.
All right, we'll stay longer. 5 minutes, Governor.
When I got orders as a Navy lieutenant to go to Naval Amphibious Base Coronado, I had not spent any real time in California in my life. Florida native, and I'm very proud of the state. But I got down there, and that Strand is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And then all up and down, just a tremendous coastline. I do believe California has more natural advantages than any state in the country, which is why when you have so many people leaving on net, that's hard to do. Like, people don't want to leave there because it really is such a beautiful area. And I'm proud of the military installations that are there. I'm proud of what the Navy's been able to do in conjunction with the state. It was really important duty. It really helped forge me as an individual and as an American. And so I'll always have very, very fond memories of that nice Strand down there in Southern California.
I love that. I mean,
What do you
Reagan,
No, what do you I don't know what you love
Reagan
about
used to
California.
call California the coast of dreams. By the way,
What
look,
do you love about Florida?
What I love about your question is the comedy in the question, meaning, you know what? We all want to be loved. We need to be loved. We all want to be protected, respected, and connected. I think there is a unity frame here.
Okay.
You said it well. I mean, Ron, I have no doubt Ron DeSantis loves this country. I love this country. It's not about red versus blue. It's red, white, and blue. The United States of America. And I think we're all better off, and we're all better off. And so I appreciate this conversation. I appreciate you, Ron, being a family man. You got 3 incredible kids. I appreciate your wife, your sacrifice, and I appreciate your military service. But I also appreciate we do have fundamental differences about the fate and future of this country. And that's why I'm going to be working so hard to get Joe Biden and Kamala Harris reelected in 2024.
You couldn't resist. You had to go right back to 2024. All right, here's the last question. Would you do this again?
Well, you know what?
I hope we could do
you know who
another
should be
half
debating?
hour. I got all night.
Joe Biden
Let's
should
keep
show
doing
up
this.
to a debate.
That's why I
Donald
wanted to
Trump
have
should show up
5
to a
I have
debate.
another 20 minutes, and I've got a lot of questions.
I'm happy to.
You want to stay?
Let's just do an extended hour. I'm happy to do it.
Okay. Then
This has been fun.
I think it's been fun, and I think it's been more entertaining. I'm
Well,
sorry to
I
the
guess
guests
we're
that
going
I've been
overtime.
invited. I got to take a break, though, in the meantime. We've got to pay some bills. It's not a cheap set we built for y'all. I hope you like it. Courtesy of your favorite channel, Fox News, and you do admit you watch often. We'll take a break. They've agreed to stay. Well, that's, I guess, a debate on the fly. We'll continue on the other side and later have live post-debate coverage. We are in Alpharetta, Georgia, the great red state, blue state debate as we continue.
Okay. No, I mean,
Ask any veteran.
my
10 out of 10.
had to send a message there because Thursday night's my karaoke night, and I'm supposed to pick up the secondary KJ and take him to the venue, but I'm going to be running late. That's a lot of driving I try to do, but it's fun as I get out, get to singing. If you have any requests, both are great states. I have been to Florida only once. I was on a business trip. Absolutely loved it. The time there in Clearwater. Amazing fresh fish. Fish is amazing when it's best with the fresh. That's from what I've what I learned. That was amazing. I love California. I love where I live. We can within an hour or so, depending on traffic. In the winter, you can go to the mountains, go see the snow, go up to Sacramento, go to the Gold Country, go the other direction. I get to go to the beach, San Francisco. Just, you know, a 6-hour drive south, though, to get to Disneyland, 6+. And that's one of the problems with the state and trying to go to electric cars. The electric cars can't go from the north end of the state to the southern end of the state without a full recharge. At least one. And we want to put us all on electric cars. Tie us to the grid, which, of course, we talked about all the corruption there. Double checking it for comments. Anybody have anything to say? Yada, yada. I need to keep notes. Next time I do this, I'll keep notes what they're talking about, since I'm not pausing and answering my own questions. Any questions for myself? It annoys me when they get into hate. I keep dropping my mouse. It annoys me when they get into hate groups and just yell at each other. Not my style at all. I think you can be respectful. We can do a lot, and you gotta, if you think things through, they both have good points and both had to do some horrible stuff. So I think there's stuff we do good in California. Some areas really good, and there's areas that we really have a lot of problems. Hopefully we learn from them, and I think the same's true in Florida too. But DeSantis, just his hardline way of doing things doesn't look at what's the side effects of what's going on. A lot of time, the side effects of I'm talking too fast. I apologize. The side effects of what goes on with his policies and rhetoric. Shoot, look at what the taking over the district around Disney, which honestly was actually helping the economy in a lot of different ways, not just Disney itself. Took benefits away from the firefighters, took all, because it looks good, it sounds good, he thinks he's fighting them. It really wasn't helping anybody. It really wasn't hurting anybody. It was, yes, it was helping Disney maintain their standard of everything there, but it honestly was taking cost away from taxpayers overall. So I don't know. You got to look at the side effects, and that's the same problem in California. Is we try to do things, especially in education, where this is the new thing, this is going to work, and experiment on our kids with how we do things. During COVID, that was one of the biggest heartaches. Was what happened with the way we handled schools in the lockdown. Had friends who, you delayed in kindergarten, delayed in first grade. Is causing all sorts of problems for them now. My son was going into high school, or it was a freshman year of high school. He lost out on most of his high school career and then couldn't get back. It was too scared with the disease to go back. It wasn't just scared. It was a lot of reasons. But And they, forced them all to virtual learning, which nobody knew how to do virtual learning at the time. So much stuff. And we're going back to this extended overtime section of the debate that I was not planning for. So I had to tell my friend we're going to be a little late. Oh.
But we appreciate them all being here tonight.
Oh, I guess we're not going to do it.
Okay, what did you think about it? Was there a winner, loser, winners, losers? You get to react. Anyway, here joining us, co-host of The Five and former Democratic Congressman Harold Ford Jr., along with the co-host of Outnumbered, Kayleigh McEnany.
I am going to take them offline. Since I'm doing the comment, if you have Fox News, you can see their commentary, or you watched it yourself. What are your thoughts on it? Oh, yeah, Jennifer. Texas, we said they're homeless here. We've had a lot of problems here where I live, in Manteca, where other cities were busing their homeless here, just within California. What I think we should actually do, it actually should have a national program. It combined a lot of resources with the way we fund states for relocation programs. A lot of people are homeless from mental health. I mean, there's dozens of reasons why people are homeless or unhoused, whichever term you prefer. And a lot of people don't want to leave because they're ties locally, but what if you get them a job? There's other cities in the country. Well, we have your skill set. We need jobs. We're going to find you housing. We're going to, whatever. Within a state, across states, I think we could do that. I think we could come up with a resource program that would consolidate a lot of programs and help relocate. Of course, if they want to, but make it easy for people to get to those resources. Trying to get to the help for that. It says, okay, I'm in homeless, I'm willing to do anything. What are my options? Well, we can do a relocation, and here's some options for you. I think that we could do that. I just partner up with employers that would be willing to do to help with that as well. I think that that could be really good. Same thing with we were talking about earlier with gas and environmental issues. The easiest way to solve the gas prices is oh my word. That was my father and Phil. Someone I've known for a very long time. The husband of my high school choir teacher, and used to be our neighbors for a while. After that, just passed away. Wow. Okay. All right. I guess that's not a happy note to end on. I was talking about environmental. I've got a video clip out there from one of my other live streams with the debates. The easiest way to lower gas prices would be to simply change the regulations. California gets stuck because of our specific types of fuel blends we're required to by the EPA, which means that only the refineries here can produce the gas, which locks in the monopolies. So it's not just we can't sell gas to other states. They can't sell gas to us. It's a lock-in. It's a monopoly. It's a forced monopoly. And the way cars, even if you take we need all these flavors constantly of different gas and all these different areas for the best clean air, which we have improved clean air. But modern cars detect the differences in chemicals, detect the differences in formulas, and adjust automatically the engines of the computers. We don't need that many formulas anymore. Reduce it, allow the competition, allow supply to be able to move across state lines easier. It would help a lot. Medical insurance is another thing. We've never fixed that. That's a lot of these forced monopolies, which it's lining people's pockets. There's so much of that, and it with transparency and a lot of it's simplification and making things more efficient. I know sometimes it's easier said than done, but a lot of times it's people are coming up narrow focus solution and not solving the whole thing. Not looking at the big picture and all of the different side effects. You take a policy and you put it in place, people are going to react. You tax something, they notice. You raise taxes on something, people tend to go away with it. That's why they keep adding cigarette taxes. It doesn't only work to a certain extent, but they know this. But yet they don't follow it through with all the policies. Anytime you change regulation, people are going to change their behavior. You should know this. But they don't, or they do and want the chaos. The biggest thing you're going to see a lot of from both parties, and both of them fighting against each other. And Gavin Newsom had the best line. It shouldn't be red versus blue. It should be red, white, and blue. Let's look at our commonalities. Look at what we do good together. We come together in times of sadness, crisis. We typically want good for our kids, for families, for our next generation. We've seen it, with natural disasters. America is good and a great nation because of its people. We have problems. We're not perfect. We have a good overall history that we can learn some things from. You take things that were good, learn the things that get rid of the things that are not good, and you move forward. That's what we need to do. A few of you are still streaming. If I don't see any questions, I should put my websites in here real quick. You may see linked to shouldjeremyrun.com. There is my updated site, shouldjenni.com, Jenni. My mother would have named me Jennifer. That's a whole story. I've got story. If you look at the videos there, you can find the story of Tim, which is actually my story. Spoilers. Told about the third person. But yeah, follow me and see for new content, I want to do more Ask Me Anythings, not just the streaming debates. I keep saying I'm going to, and I'm bad at scheduling and just going ahead and doing it. But that's... Let me check one more time, because if not, I gotta get to karaoke. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, good night, adieu. We'll do that one. Adieu, adieu to you and you and you. Wonderful, timely thing. We will tell you good night and see you in the future. Adios. Oh wait, I can actually end the stream. Until next time.